the question becomes, if he doesn't win, like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? I think Joe Biden made that rather clear, did he not, the other day?
It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. Politically lock him up, or actually just lock him up. I mean, I think they kind of do want to do whatever they can. I mean, we've heard over and over from the likes of Letitia James.
He's called me venomous.
We will fight back to your attempt to bring Trumpism to New York City.
He's called me disgraceful.
Of the fact that they stole the Supreme Court seat. An illegitimate president and an illegitimate member of the United States Supreme Court.
He's called me radical.
Listen, we know he's crazy. We know he doesn't have a sound mind. We know he's out of control. We know he's losing it. We know his days are numbered and we will come together.
He's called me a racist.
We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale.
Unbelievable. I mean, so she made this very clear over and over and over again that she was going to do everything she could to lock him up. And at this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, she's nowhere close to that. In fact, the reality is her case is about to be thrown out of court any day now. You have Elise Stefanik out there demanding that they actually rescind her law license because she was so far out over her skis. Recent piece, actually, I think this was in the New York Times, by a law professor at Harvard saying that Jack Smith was way out over his skis, and really he owed it to the people to defend why he was going after Donald Trump with such venom. I think people are just exhausted, and now you get a clip playing on CNN in the loop that she wants to remake the Supreme Court. What does that mean? If you're not on their side, then you are very much caught in those crosshairs. The likes of Letitia James can go after you. I mean, Donald Trump says he's not going to go after them. He's not looking for retribution, yet they sure are, right? They definitely are. I mean, this is what Letitia campaigned on, for goodness sakes.
I've taken on powerful interests like developers. I've taken on legislators. I've taken on landlords. I've taken on powerful interests in the city of New York because I believe in a good fight. And right now, what we need is someone who understands that you should not be afraid, not be fearful of Donald Trump. We should take him down. We should sue him all the way to bankruptcy. We should investigate his business interests. We should investigate his business holdings. We should investigate whether or not why he was once in debt and now in a position to purchase all of this property. We can do that because I've been trained to do that, and I will do that at the same time knowing the Office of Attorney General and its powers and its responsibilities and its duties. My name is Letitia James, and I plan on being the next Attorney General of the state of New York. God bless you and thank you.
So she's running for office, right? That was back when she was campaigning, and she's going to be Attorney General, and that she knows the power of the Attorney General, and she can do all this, except it turns out, no, she can't. She can't. In fact, her case has now been appealed to the Court of Appeals in New York, where before the person representing her, which was Judith Vale, the solicitor, got up and started speaking, they shut her down right away. There's 5 justices on this, and they're like, girl, you got no case.
May it please the court, Judith Vale for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated...
Ms. Vale, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where and where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transaction or losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Well, several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, it was a completely private case. The appellate court gets it. She's going to get her, you know what, handed to her any day now. Like literally, like we got countdown to the election. We got countdown to Letitia James having total egg on her face. Here's the appellate judge saying, you know, there's no case here because this was a private transaction. I think it's just important to go back to this. I know some of you are like, okay, I've seen this before, but think about this. Think about what they're doing. You have a private transaction with your bank. The bank agrees to lend you money. You say, this is my collateral. The bank's like, check, yes, we think that collateral is worth it. And then all of a sudden, Letitia James, the AG of New York, gets to jump in and say, no, I think Mar-a-Lago is worth way less than what you think, and I'm going to unravel all this, and I'm going to charge you $500 million in the process.
It was using...
I'm sorry, but what's being described sounds an awful lot like a potential commercial dispute between private actors.
Well, to go back to the first question about whether there's other examples of this, there are other examples of this. In the First American case, the Attorney General brought a 6312 case where the transaction at issue was between a very big bank, Wells Fargo, and a professional appraisal firm.
But it wasn't the concern there that the public would ultimately be negatively impacted and affected by what those corporate actors were doing.
And that concern is here as well, because when you have hidden risks getting injected into the market, that hurts the market and honest participants in the market. And the legislature also decided, contrary to what defendants think, that making sure that business in New York stays honest is the way to attract and keep business
to that
in New
point,
York.
the executive law.
Okay, yeah, and then that was like the only judge who I think gave her a little bit of a bone. The other four justices are like, no way. In fact, they came out of that saying, what do we do to curb an AG like Letitia James? I'll tell you what you do, guys. You disbar her. You disbar her. Now, maybe I'm a little more vindictive than Donald Trump, because Howie Kurtz asked him about it. Sort of, you know, do you want any kind of retribution? I mean, look at what you've been through. Like, what are you going to do about this? And Donald Trump actually took the high road. Unlike Joe Biden, unlike Letitia James, unlike Fani Willis and Alvin Bragg and Jack Smith. Watch.
I think they're unethical, but who knows?
I want to drill down on this question of retribution because against your political opponents, because you've had opportunities to walk that back. And my question is this: are you prepared to say now that you will not use law enforcement to punish or prosecute your political opponents?
Excuse me. That's what they're using on me.
Okay, so your stance is that they started
before you start this.
Yeah, I got it.
Howie, that's what they're using on me. I've got DAs. I've got everybody. They look at me. There's never been anything like this. The biggest case was the one down in Florida, and I beat it 100%. I won the case because we had number one, a brilliant judge, and a judge that moved rather rapidly, and I won the case. By the way, Biden had almost the same case, but he didn't have the Presidential Records Act because he wasn't the president, just to finish. And he got off on the basis that he's incompetent, essentially that he's incompetent. And it was a strange ruling because they said, number one, he's incompetent, so he's not going to be, but the prosecutor actually said he's guilty, but he's incompetent. But they didn't say he couldn't be president anymore. That was his bigger problem for not being president. How can you not represent yourself in court because you're incompetent, but you're allowed to represent the United States of America? The whole thing is crazy. But no, they have weaponized government against me.
But are you willing to use the same tactics?
No, I don't want to do that because that's a bad thing for the country. I don't want to do that. I don't know who said. I haven't said that I would, but they have done it. I've got attorney generals, DAs. They're all right. You take a look in Atlanta.
You're heavily investigated. Yeah,
they went and met with them. It's all coming out of the Justice Department. They have done something never done in this country before. Now, it's been done in a lot of other countries, third world countries, banana republics, but never done. So when you ask that question, you really have to start by saying, well, they've done it to you. No, I'm not looking to do it to them at all, because that is they have set a very bad precedent, however.
You talk about the enemy.
Yeah, they have set a really, really bad precedent.